A lot of people are having their books out in the spring, and also going into the summer, and they don't have the usual ways of promoting them, which, as I said, have come to involve tootling around the country and appearing in places. So they can't do that. And then you have a bookstore problem too. So you can order online, but it's hard actually going into a store. Some of them have got curbside delivery. So the whole apparatus has really been somewhat shut down, not completely, but somewhat, by the fact that nobody can go anywhere.
And that's what the NAC has been doing with performing artists who have nowhere in which to perform. So they have hashtag Canada Performs, and then expanding this into the literary world with literary events on the schedule as well. And hence you're starting. What are your thoughts on, as you said, the bookstores, whether they survive or not? I mean, that'll be a big question. But what do you think the impact of all of this will be on people like you who write?
Well, the actual writing takes place in isolation anyway, so none. But
in fact, it may be subject matter for many wonderful works to come.
What, me in my room?
Well, you and other writers, you know, you're right, because you're able to still continue what you do, which is write, and maybe with lots of time to reflect and certainly, as I said, inspiration. There may be some wonderful creative works from many people coming out of this.
Very possible. Let's find out. But then you have to get the books into the hands of the readers, and that's the link that we're talking about right now.
And what do you think that will look like in the future? Are you concerned about that whole network and its very survival?
It's not top of my list. Reading has gone way up, particularly cookbooks and do-it-yourself and how to get through this and that. So people are reading a lot of books, and you can order online and you can get delivery. So that's happening. But into the future, we'll have to see.
What is top of your list as far as concern right now?
You mean apart from the squirrels that were in my ceiling? They seem to have dealt with that.
That is a very pressing, immediate concern. More for the nation, though, what's top concern?
Ladders outside your house, just letting you know. They can still do that because they're not anywhere near you. So if you've got squirrels in your roof, you can call those people.
Well, there you go. I never thought we'd get into that realm of advice, I have to say. This whole area is an area on which you have thought long and about which you have written beautifully for years. And I was struck by something that you had written in the Globe last week, growing up in quarantine land, because you've lived through this kind of scenario before, not this exact scenario, of course, but through wartime, through diphtheria, through polio and things of that nature, and you wrote of it very evocatively, as always. What do you think there are in lessons that from that time that we can draw from there to get through it now?
Well, if you're in your house and you're not ill and you don't have lots and lots of small children around, you're in a pretty good place. So in the time of quarantine, when there were all these diseases for which we didn't have vaccines, if you didn't actually have the disease at that moment, you weren't doing badly. You can allow yourself to get very scared by these things, but why, apart from taking precautions, why waste the time worrying about that? So,
You wrote that specifically. If I'll read back one of your lines to our viewers who maybe didn't read your piece in the Globe, if you yourself are not ill, the pandemic may be giving you a gift. That gift is time. Now's your chance. So that's a one place in which to see a positive in this. Where else can you help us find hope?
I see a lot of people getting together and helping. So it has fostered a different sense of community. My sister is going to bring her sewing machine. It's okay for us to be together because she doesn't see anybody anyway, and neither do I. So she's going to bring her sewing machine, and I've hauled out my own ancient sewing machine, and we're going to make face masks. They may not be very good face masks, but they will be. face masks, and I see people printing face masks on their 3D printers. I see them doing all sorts of things to help other people, and that's very encouraging.
The humanity through the dark times. That's interesting you mentioned face masks, because there's a lot of information conflicting about whether we should wear them or not and whether they help or not. It makes me wonder, you're such an astute observer of what's happening in our country. What do you think about the information that we're getting, the leadership that we're seeing at this moment?
Well, this would be for healthcare workers, and they really do need them.
Yes.
So, so if you're going for a hike in the ravine in Toronto, and you're not going to be within a moose length, a hockey stick length of anybody else, you don't need to be wearing a face mask.
Exactly. And
but you are going to be close, and if you've got a cough or anything like that, you really should.
In your time at home, I don't know if this is giving you more fodder for your own material to write, but how are you said your sister's coming over. How else are you spending your time these days?
Well, there are a lot of projects going forth. For instance, we're putting together a virtual gala to replace the 2 events we usually do in May in the Windsor area. So that's Spring Song on Pelee Island to help out the Heritage Center there, and the Pelee Island Bird Observatory dinner in Windsor. And we figured out a way to recreate just about every single feature of what we usually do in person, including the rubber chicken choir.
You'd hate to miss the rubber chicken choir, even in times of pandemic. So you're very involved with your birding and your literary pursuits, as well as you continue to work on them from home. I promised our viewers that I would seek out a book recommendation from you. I don't know if we want to send people to Oryx and Crake, because it does get into the whole realm of pandemic, although genetically engineered. But can you point us in one direction? What you suggest?
Well, I can point you in the direction of the list that Adrian and I were talking about yesterday, because that's going to be put up on the National Arts Center website. And we named, I think, about 20 different books that we are interested in reading. I can't totally recommend them yet because I haven't read them. This was a book show in which we didn't have any books and we hadn't read any books, but we managed to do the show anyway. Reading some of the books that I have recommended without having read them.
So what was the one that you were most interested in, so we can share that?
Oh man, let me get the list, which is upstairs.
Oh, it's okay. We'll direct people to the NAC website. We'll try to tweet that up as well. I have to let you go. I appreciate the time so much, but I do want to ask one more question. I was just listening back. You had just been on Anna Maria Tremonti's podcast just not too long ago, earlier in March, before this really became really serious. And everyone's listening to that conversation as it being rather prescient on your part. And one of the things you told Anna Maria was there are all kinds of possible futures, and which one we're going to get is going to depend on what we do now.
Very true. Yeah, and it was even truer a couple of months ago. We were a little bit unprepared, weren't we?
Yes. So what is the choice now?
What is the choice right at this minute? The choice right at this minute is try not to get the dreaded germ and try not to give it to other people. That's the choice right now. But coming out of it, it's going to be, how are we going to arrange life differently now that we've had time to pause and reflect? So what things have changed for the better during this period, and how can we duplicate them in the future? How can we keep the better parts going? So let's think about environmental impacts. Let's think about community impacts, and also the rearrangement of how we acquire things, how we share wealth, all of those things that are being pretty violently rearranged right now.